Okay, so I hope you like that, or at least was impacted by that. John, you said that when they did this topic on stage, that it was one of those like not a dry eye in the house kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little about what that was like and how that went for you. And
Well, at the main boot camps, if you haven't heard about this, Wild at Heart, John Eldredge, he does camps back in Colorado twice a year, and around the world actually. They go and do these things, and now they can do them basics online. Anybody that's been through the curriculum can do a basic, lead a group of men, and we do boot camps here in the Northwest. The wound session, every person has received a wound. You can't enter into the world, a broken world, and not receive a wound. And primarily that comes from dad, but mom too. And our mothers and fathers, no matter how good of people they are, they're people too. I mean, we will wound our children just because we're human.
Yeah, they're imperfect, fallen people. It's not a blame thing.
And so at the men's boot camps, when you get to the wound, and you do this in a small group setting, if you go through Wild at Heart with a group of men, you'll start maybe with 10 guys. You get to the wound session. After the wound session, the one after that,
you're down to 4.
You're like four guys because they're like, out of here.
That was way too close. Way too close.
That hurt, and I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And at the boot camps, sometimes it's a hard thing to see, but it's also really good because healing comes from facing those wounds. But you'll hear in the auditorium after Chris and I speak, or you'll be in a John Eldredge boot camp, you'll hear like just heart-wrenching sobbing and it's really tough because men are coming to terms with how wounded they are.
Right.
The scripture says, God says, don't treat the wound of my people
like it's not serious.
Yeah. Like I love that verse because it is serious.
Yeah.
When Stacy went there with the mother wound, there wasn't a dry eye. I think it's because we love our moms. I love my mom, but it's like, you always want to like, Mom, it's okay,
Yeah.
But I think if we don't address these things, there can even be barriers to us going deep with our moms, going deep with God. And I really appreciated what Stacy brought. It brought up a lot of things, and since that day, I was there live in the talk that Chris said. Since that time, I've gone to a new level of friendship and relationship with my own mother,
right,
who's still alive, and she's a prayer warrior of ours, mighty prayer warrior. But being able to approach that and to address that and ask God to heal those wounds, that opened up a lot of places in my own mother's life and my relationship with her that I wouldn't have been without that.
Right. I was, this is going to choke me up again. So I remember my own story, which is where I was given up for adoption as an infant. Now, growing up, I grew up in a great family, and they took really good care of me. I was loved and all that kind of stuff. And I knew that I was adopted the whole time. But I didn't think that it was a wound. Like, I didn't think that this whole adoption thing was like, I would always tell myself, no, it was fine. It didn't really affect me. And then probably, what was it? It was 2014, 15 is probably when this happened, is I was actually on stage at boot camp talking about the sonship session, which we can do another time. But in the middle of me telling my story about being adopted and basically saying it didn't affect me, God totally interrupted me on stage and was like, there's a lot more to that story that you don't know yet. And I froze. I froze on stage. Was like, what does that even mean?
I was there. It was really powerful.
So I choked up for a little bit. I didn't know what that meant, but I kind of stumbled on forward. And then it was like a month or two later that my biological family found me. It was, and that went fantastic. So George, Cassie, Chris, all you guys, Bill, I love you. That has been a brilliant story. My mother, however, my biological mother, passed away in like the 80s. And so I've never had a chance to meet her. But George gave me this picture of Terry mom, in which this is her on her wedding day. Now, I don't think I'm talking out of school. Like, I was conceived out of wedlock. This is partly why the adoption happened. But in this picture, here is my mom, and technically, like, I'm in the picture, right? So I'm in her belly, but she's in her wedding dress. She's beautiful, but she's crying. And it was this really hard moment of just recognizing that notion of being given up for adoption had a way deeper effect on me than I knew specifically because my deepest wound is all about abandonment stuff. It's all about feeling not worthy, not wanted, not like, and when God brought that to me through this mother wound, boy, it blew my mind, because I didn't think it was there. And to have, so often the things that feel the truest to us are just the things that hurt, right?
Yeah.
Like pain has this way of making it feel true. And I think sometimes we just have to go back through the pain just to hear God's truth.
Yeah.
And it hurts just as much to get pulled through that knothole backwards, but it's the only path. I think that's why so many people drop out of soul care the moment it starts to hurt, because they're like, I just can't go there.
And I think honestly, like, we're not all ready for those things.
Yeah.
And I think I've been in that place with like, whoa, it's like a movie, you read a book or something like gets pricked and you're like, that hurt too much. Maybe I'll put a bookmark in that and come back to it next year.
Yeah.
I've learned though, I mean, that I would say maybe the first, 30 years of my life, I'm not paying as much attention to those times. And now I'm like, if that happens, I'm like, I stop and I pause and maybe ask God, or ask someone close like you, like, what do you think of this? Because the more you do that and the more healing that happens, that more wholeness occurs.
And I love thinking about this the way we talk about like the check engine light. Like that is your spirit's check engine light.
Yeah.
And it's really easy in your own car. You're like, stupid light, I'm going to ignore it.
Or put the black tape over it.
But the truth is, like, your soul's telling you something, and it's way better to go there and just and figure out what that's about.
Yeah.
All right. So hope that was a great session for you. It certainly impacted us a lot, and we'll call that good for today.